Now we have some breaking news coming in from Trump. Trump to boycott G20 summit in South Africa. Trump says that no official from US will be part of G20. Trump cites mistreatment of white farmers in South Africa. He also says that South Africa must be removed from G20 entirely. This is the latest that we're getting from Trump, where US is set to boycott the G20 summit. President Donald Trump announced that no official from the United States would attend this year's group of G20 summit in Africa, citing what he described as the mistreatment of white farmers in the country. While Trump had already said he would not personally attend the annual gatherings of the world's largest economies, Vice President J.D. Vance, who was expected to represent the US, will also not attend the summit. President Trump cited the mistreatment of white farmers in the country as the reason behind the boycott. This is the latest that we're getting in. Remember, G20 is the meeting of the largest economies of the world, and this time it was supposed to be held in South Africa. But now the US is entirely boycotting it, and it has described the mistreatment of the white farmers in the country as the reason for their cancellation of the visit. Earlier, we knew that J.D. Vance was going to visit, but now we're getting to know that even he has cancelled his visit. Trump is also saying that it's the mistreatment of white farmers in the country which is the reason behind this boycott. Earlier, in fact, he mentioned that South Africa should entirely be removed from the G20 group. This is the latest remark of Trump coming right before the G20 summit. South African officials, we are yet to see how they have reacted to it. And this is a decision which is a broader pattern of boycott seen during the Trump era of the G20 meetings. We're seeing this is the latest when we look at South Africa and the G20 summit that is going to happen there, and how now no officials from the US will be part of this G20 summit. Earlier, J.D. Vance was going to be part of the summit, but now even he is not going to attend. We have Rohit Sharma joining in for more. Rohit, now we're seeing that US is giving a total boycott to the G20 summit, which is going to be held in South Africa. In fact, Trump before this said that South Africa should be removed from the G20 groupings altogether. What's the latest that we know?
Well, I think it came as a surprise. Initially, way back when South African president visited Washington, D.C., we saw those images when the White House, kind of brought in a television, and they were showing videos of how Afrikaners were treated by, some of those tribes, I should say, in South Africa. And, since then, President Donald Trump has given them a refugee status. We've had already about, 7,000 people who've come in from South Africa. It was on the expected line that President Trump was not going to attend the G20, and the understanding was that somebody from the administration would go. But today, I think he surprised everybody by saying that nobody from the U.S. administration, or at least government official, will attend. So I think he's sort of in a way not only sidelining G20 but also reducing its importance by saying that the U.S. no longer thinks that they should be attending G20. So very surprising and very shocking. There were also talks about how G20 could be used, for the Quad leaders to have a meeting on the sides of G20. But that also looks like out of the question right now, with even J.D. Vance skipping, because J.D. Vance could have stepped in the role at the Leaders Summit if it were to be held at South Africa. So long and short of this is Donald Trump has snubbed G20 altogether, and it's going to happen. We know for a fact that G20 is going to will be held in America next year, and he's already said that it will happen in Miami, Florida next year. So, yeah, big story. Donald Trump saying nobody from the U.S. will attend G20 this year.
Right. Nobody from the U.S. is attending the G20 summit. But how has South Africa responded? Do we know of any response or reaction coming from them on this?
I'll have to wait and watch, or we'll have to wait and watch what South Africa has to say about it. But they have to be, again, very cautious. They don't want to upset President Trump.
Right. And, this decision is the latest when we see that there's a pattern of boycotts during the Trump era of the G20 meetings. You've just mentioned that there's not even going to be a quad meeting on the side with J.D. Vance also skipping the meet. Why is US continuously skipping these G20 meets? We saw earlier they had also missed out a meet focused on diversity, inclusion, and climate change.
I think President Trump, recently when he met the Chinese premier, he said G2. I think that's America's understanding. I think they've acknowledged that there are only two superpowers in the world. One is the U.S. and other is China. And so a lot of people believe that President Trump's America First policy does not really bother to deal with all these other multilateral arrangements that have been in place for such a long time. His focus is on making America great again, and he thinks, frankly, he just thinks that the South Africans haven't lived up to his expectation. He cited human rights abuses, something that he also cited when he met the South African president in Washington D.C. a couple of months ago. So clearly, I think it is President Trump taking a line and saying, unless and until South African government does what he wants to do with the Afrikaners, he doesn't want to engage with them. And if that means that he has to skip G20, then so be it.
Right. So that's Trump citing mistreatment of white farmers as the reason for skipping G20 summit altogether. Thank you so much for joining in, Rohit.